Woohoo! What a match! What a match! Pakistan versus Sri Lanka, and for once, Sri Lanka have gotten the better of Pakistan in a crunch situation. Charit Asalanka, take a bow, man. What pressure! In the end, we have seen a massive victory because Sri Lanka have won by 2 wickets courtesy the DLS method. And for all you advocates of a fake rivalry, I'm sorry, boss, no India versus Pakistan final.
Real cricket.
It is the victory of fair cricket. Try how much ever you want to, try how much ever obstacles you want to put. One small nation always defies the odds. And Pakistan today, they have been felled by David. Goliath has been felled by David today. India versus Pakistan tried their damnedest to get to the final. But no, boss, Sri Lanka said, we are here to play as well.
We'll change the destiny.
We'll change it, and that is why, sorry boss, no India versus Pakistan. It is India, Sri Lanka. I don't know about India deserving or Pakistan deserving, but Sri Lanka definitely deserved.
100%.
11th Asia Cup final for the Sri Lankans. And kudos to Dasun Shanaka's side. Everything was stacked against them. Everything. They travelled a lot. They had to ensure that, okay, we play against India on a rank turner, which they themselves wanted. They fell into that trap. They had faced the brunt of the assault from Rizwan and Iftikhar. But Kusal Mendes, Sadira Samaravikrama's partnership 100, Charit Asalanka 49, and Sri Lanka needed 6 of 2. He got it with a 4 and 2 runs. And just for good measure, Sri Lanka ran 3 of the final ball.
On the final ball.
Because there was a confusion whether it would be par score 252 or par score 251. No. They managed to do it, but Sri Lanka almost bottled it themselves. 12 of 12. How could you make it a thriller? Just ask Shaheen Afridi. What a spell he bowled. 4 runs in the final of 41st over.
Yeah.
2 wickets. That too of Dhananjay De Silva and Dunith Vellalage. Vellalage, remember, had started with the bat against India.
Yeah.
But forlorn faces from Babar Azam's team.
Yeah, even when it comes to Pakistan's bowling, even Zaman Khan held his nerve very good. But then, in the second last ball, that edge just,
You need that bit of luck.
Sometimes, yeah, I was just about to say that luck gets the better of
Yes.
you. And then after that, they made those weird fielding changes. I think they had a square leg before that.
Yes.
And then I don't know what happened, but suddenly there wasn't a fielder there. If they had, that would have been a single at best.
But it brings me to the question. See, Pakistan only came back into the contest because of Iftikhar Ahmed's 3 wickets.
Yeah.
He kept taking wickets, and Pakistan, credit to them, they managed to ensure that Sri Lanka never got totally away. It was not that they needed 60 balls, they needed 30. No, it was always neck to neck until the final over.
And that full credit goes to Sri Lanka for that.
Sri Lanka. But Babar Azam's one situation I didn't understand. If he had Shaheen, he bowled that, okay, fine. Why couldn't he bowl someone more experienced like Mohammad Wasim Jr.? You needed experience. He's much more experienced than Zaman Khan. Yeah. Why did you not want to bowl Mohammad Wasim Jr.? Wasim Jr. conceded 25 runs, but at the start of the power play 3. I understand you don't want to bowl Nawaz because of his final over troubles that he's had. But Mohammad Wasim Jr., he's there in the death overs for a specific reason, to nail the Yorkers. Zaman, to his credit, brilliant. He's bowled well often in this PSL franchise and also in the Global T20 League in Canada. He's bowled some brilliant last overs. But at the international stage, you will be found wanting. And remember, and there is the guy who predicted it. I thought Sri Lanka, Afghanistan was thrilling. This tops it. Still managing your heartbeats?
Yeah. So at one point I didn't know. So I'd already written for us, I'd written my script for a Sri Lanka win. Then that over from Shaheen.
Yes.
We must talk about it. Superb over, 4 runs only
And
in the
2
penultimate
wickets.
over, 2 wickets, and was on a hat trick. Then this over from, and very good 4 deliveries to begin with from Zaman Khan. The debutant
Yes.
almost won them the match.
Yep.
And then almost halfway through that over, okay, I was like, what should I do now?
Super
Should
over
I
all
now?
this.
Okay, so then I started to write for a Pakistan win. But this is something like, after a point, you can't script these things, right?
Yeah.
You had to wait for the action to pan out the way that it had to.
Yep.
Tremendous stuff. Gargi, you're not excited about it?
No, of course
She's
I am. I'm still
stunned.
shocked.
you
Yeah.
just state of shock, are you?
Yeah.
Can't believe what you saw?
No, but that was just pure brilliance from Sri Lanka.
Yep.
At
What?
this point, even Kusal Mendes, I mean,
91?
incredible stuff.
Yes.
91.
91 brilliant runs. Okay, so even Nikhil will be joining us soon. So apparently his illness has recovered significantly enough to watch this game.
This game has, again, it's I can tell you, personally speaking, it's re-energized me. What a finish, yeah. What a finish to the match. I'm not surprised that Nikhil is also joining us, even though he's been fighting illness.
Yep.
But
But I will only say one thing. Pakistan, if you want to change your packages, it's happened with me once, because the last time I had to rewrite an entire match report in my only time.
also in all of this, then came this possibility of super over.
Yes.
You were looking at, and my you know what, when Saranj and I were having conversation, my Saranj, maybe this package limit will now, duration will now exceed, because if this goes to a super over, boy oh boy, not only are we in for a longer night, but we're in for a longer package
Longer
also.
package, yes. But credit
To
Sri Lanka. I mean, Naveed Nawaz, who's the assistant coach, he had pointed out in the India game as well that when you're put under immense pressure, the Sri Lankan team becomes resilient. And boy,
No, but they bottled it. They nearly
Almost.
bottled it.
They did. The
Well-
last 3 wickets, I would say, were
Yeah, see,
The
De
way
Silva
they
didn't have to play
announced
that shot.
Yes.
Shanaka didn't have to play that shot. After that, those two
The
wickets.
run-out.
Dhananjay De Silva
They
and
run
Tulip
out.
Vellalage.
Yes, Vellalage again, going for a drive, first ball again, should have just looked to knock the ball around. But, there
But
was.
then if it wasn't for Sri Lanka,
Yeah. And of course, Madhushan getting that crucial run to ensure that Sri Lanka would be on strike.
Yes,
exactly.
You needed that 4 and 2 runs.
He just had to run. He didn't have to turn around and see he shouldn't have been thinking, should have just ran.
Yes, and run did he, because Pakistan also towards the fag end slipped up in the fielding. Remember, there was one overthrow which could have been avoided.
Yes, very much.
Fine
I remember
margins.
that expression on Shadab's face,
And Babar.
on Babar's face as well.
Yep.
The cameraman also knew who to show at that particular point.
Exactly. But the catching was good. The catching was good from
Definitely.
the likes of Fahim Ashraf,
Fahim took a
Abdullah
very good
Shafiq.
yeah.
They were all taken very
Abdullah
good.
Shafiq in the
And
team.
Mohammad Nawaz also. He also took a very good catch. So that's why I will say that, look, Sri Lanka, that's the problem that I have with this particular kind of a tournament and with this particular.
Are you happy? No, Siddharth, forget the dissection. Are you happy? Has justice been done? Pakistan don't make it to the final. And all of you guys, hope for an India-Pakistan final. It's not happening. There is something about this Asia Cup that you don't have an India-Pakistan final, even with the 6 teams competing.
Yep. So, Pakistan's wait for an Asia Cup title has now extended well past a decade now. See, they last won in 2012, now they're not winning it in the next 2 years. Sri Lanka, on the other hand, for once in a knockout pressure situation, they came out on the right side of the result.
They prevailed.
They prevailed. And remember, in an ODI World Cup format, in the Asia Cup ODI format, they actually held a
So
4-1
happy for the
advantage.
guys, yeah. Just so happy for all of
I
them.
know it's usually revenge, but justice.
Justice.
No, justice is a dish served. Best served.
Best served?
Cold.
Cold. Okay.
This, I thought they said for revenge.
Revenge,
That's what
yes.
I'm saying. Nah, it's usually
But
revenge.
justice shouldn't be cold.
Be
Yes.
cold food, right to do the injustice.
Anyway, talking about cold in the cold night of Colombo, we are joined by Nikhil. Nikhil, hopefully you're feeling a whole lot better, but you would also be slightly
Was
disappointed.
this match an immunity booster, Nikhil?
No, not at all. You'll have to bear with my voice, which is
So-
and no, but it was such an exciting match that I couldn't help myself but join. So I thought, that's the only thing I can do when I'm in bed. But I had to groom myself because I was in a very messy avatar. But I was like, I have to groom myself before I go on air. So, which is what I had to do. But what a game! I just want to tell you what it means to the Sri Lankans because just from my balcony, I can see down, and there was this giant screen on the beach, and it's the same time as India, so it's well past midnight, about 1:15 here, and there were about 1,000, 2,000 people, youngsters, grown-up men with their family, wives, kids, everyone watching the game together. And even if I was not watching the match because I didn't have that much energy to keep watching the match all the time, I could from their noise, which is about about good 500 meters away from me, from their noise, get to know that there is a Sri Lankan boundary being hit. So that's how excited they were. It means a lot to them, and I think it's our mistake, all of us, where we keep building it up as an India Pakistan final, and we completely ignore the fact that the most successful team in Asia Cup, not in terms of titles won, that is of course India, but in terms of reaching the final is Sri Lanka. So this is Sri Lanka's 11th final, India's 10th final, and Pakistan has reached 5. So, I mean, while we enjoy this rivalry of India versus Pakistan, there is a reason why, Sri Lankan team consistently makes those finals, and especially in conditions like these, their home conditions, Premadasa is their fortress. So, couldn't be happier for another team. And I think, there'll be lots of question marks. I think we'll discuss that going forward of things that Pakistan did wrong. At one point, I felt that Sri Lanka will do a Pakistan. And you know what Pakistan does? From a winning position, lose a match. And I thought that it'll be Sri Lanka that will do a Pakistan. They almost did until Sri Lanka got one lucky boundary off the edge, which always happens towards the end. And then played that very calm, composed flick for those winning runs. And the scenes at that time, there were firecrackers being burst, and all those people that were cheering for the boundaries, their voice levels went, twofold, threefold after that. So, and that's what probably gave me some energy, and like, let me just join and share this happiness with all of you, especially Siddharth, since he's such a Sri Lankan supporter.
Absolutely. I mean,
we were speaking of yesterday being electric when India played Sri Lanka day before. It being electric. Today, the decibel levels when those winning runs came from the bat of Sri Lanka, oof.
And you have to remember the band, when the Baila songs just reverberate around the Ketarama, it gives you a totally carnival feeling. There are trumpets, there are drums, and the carnival atmosphere is a sight to behold at the Ketarama.
I'm sure.
And see, India and Pakistan tried their level best to ensure that it is a final. They tried their level best when actually, if you looked at it, the reserve day situation, looking at how it wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary at all to have the reserve day. Looking at the string of results that was there. What you have done is, Pakistan have only shot themselves in the foot. Typical Pakistan.
No, but why was the reserve day not necessary, Siddharth? We had a match because of the reserve day. Now, if there was no reserve day, India wouldn't have beaten Pakistan the way they did.
See, you may all consider it beating and winning. For me, that win doesn't count. It was achieved by unfair means whatsoever. And luckily,
unfair means, what is the team's fault if it's, and how can you term it unfair means? It's not the players that did something that was unfair and won that game. Be kind to the players who went out for 2 days in a row, and the same Indian team played with a gap of 12 hours right after that, another game versus Sri Lanka. To call it unfair means is unfair. It was decided by the administrators. Why should players bear this tag of unfair means? That's, I think, very harsh. If I was a player, I would sue Siddharth and he'd have to appear in court.
The players cannot speak up in this modern world. They just can't.
But again,
because the administrators are greedy.
But they were asked to play, and they did that.
You can very well take a stance. If you're in Australia or England, you could have very well taken a stance. You needed a break. India and Pakistan, you cannot.
What was the need? What was the need of them to sort of say anything when there are tweets being put out by national board saying that this was done in consultation with us?
As I said, no one has a choice.
Why would you expect any Indian player to then make any point about it?
They don't have a choice. As simple as that. They don't have a choice. And luckily, one of the teams who tried to ensure that they tried to get to the final is luckily knocked out. Luckily, justice has prevailed. The better team won.
Exactly. So that is what is important at the end of the day. The better team won on the result.
But I don't think it was their idea of ensuring one team goes to the final. I don't think that was the idea behind having that reserve day. Clearly, one team knew that they were going to lose, and that would have hampered their chances of reaching the final. Gladly, before that game, both would have taken a straight point. So the whole argument that they were doing that reserve day to ensure one of India or Pakistan goes to the final is, or probably both, right? They would want both to reach the final. Then the best situation would have been to have a washed out game. That wasn't done for that purpose, for anyone to reach the final. For that purpose, a washout would have been the ideal result. But, and you know, if it was a washout, it would have benefited both India and Pakistan. The fact is that was done because of the commercials involved. Because you had to, after that first game got washed out, the broadcaster pays crazy amount of money. And clearly they put pressure saying that how is it that we paid for, let's say, 2 India-Pakistan matches at a bare minimum. And, you know, we do not get even one. So that pressure then ensured. But it wasn't a pressure to reach the final. I mean, as I said, a washout would have been better for the purpose of reaching the final.
It is everything what you say is right, Nikhil. But the fact remains, either you had a reserve day for all the games, not just for one game.
No, but Siddharth, okay, I mean, I was just going on. I mean, that's fine. We've already spoken about it. How many times are we going to keep speaking about that there should be I've already said that was unfair.
Yep.
Today, Sri Lanka has won. And are we going to discuss that why was there a reserve day for India and Pakistan? Is that the most important thing to be spoken on the day that Sri Lanka has pulled off a magnificent victory and reached the final? Well then, so we've discussed that it was unfair. I agree with you. But all I'm saying is that it wasn't done for a purpose of reaching the final. That's what I'm saying. And as I said, you raised your voice multiple times. But what can you do when both the boards, I mean, the official way of doing it is that you raise a complaint. The Sri Lankan board raises a complaint. The Bangladesh officially writes a complaint. It's happened in the past. But if you're not going to do it, you and I can keep screaming from a rooftop. It's not going to change anything. It will not. I mean, the board should have come in and then put in a complaint.
Boards unfortunately don't have a choice, especially Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. But again, despite having...
Nikhil makes a valid point, and I think people joining us also at the moment they've heard this discussion before. Let's talk about the man of the hour, or let's say the men of the hour.
Two men of the hour.
Exactly, the men of the hour.
Kusal Mendes and Charit Asalanka. But also...
Firstly, I'm very upset with Vellalage. Because I hyped him up so much and everyone did. What kind of a shot was he playing?
Mad shot.
He's supposed to be the next all-rounder. When I put a tweet out about, him taking the legacy of Sri Lankan spin forward, I got lots of people telling me, no, he's not a spinner like a Herat or a Murli. He's an all-rounder. So, and I was like, yeah, he did play an outstanding inning against India. What does he do today? I mean, he almost lost his team a game from that position where they were winning. I mean, there were others as well. The blame has to go to Shanaka as well. If today they lost the game, Shanaka would have to take the blame for it, being the captain, the kind of shot that he played, the shot that Vellalage played. I mean, the rest of them got out to some good deliveries.
Even Dhananjay De Silva, I would add Nikhil to that list.
2 consecutive games, Dhananjay De Silva bad shots.
Yeah, but I mean, in the sense he was going for a 6, right? I mean, it wasn't.
The situation.
I mean, a full toss. What do you do? He should have found a gap. I mean, ideally a full toss in that situation.
The situation didn't need you, especially with Shanaka. If I'm not wrong, it was 36 or 36.
No, but Shanaka, I'll tell you what. It wasn't necessarily a ball where you needed to take risk against, right? It wasn't necessarily a ball where you had to go. But in Dhananjay's case, you got a full toss. Had he not hit a boundary, then probably all of us would have said, hey, you need a boundary here and there. You get a full toss. You're not even attempting that. Probably he should have found the gap slightly better. But at least that shot was on a full toss. He should have. In fact, I think the Sri Lankan batsmen are guilty of letting go of a few, Zaman bowled a few full tosses. They were guilty of not capitalizing on those full tosses. All of them should have gone for a boundary. They did not. Maybe his action was a bit awkward. But if there's one team that should be okay with that sort of an action, it has to be Sri Lanka, right? Yeah. Considering they produce so many of those players like that. Yeah. But in case of Vellalage and Shanaka, I mean, totally... casual and
bad shots under pressure.
Irresponsible shots. Yeah.
Yep. Especially Vellalage. I mean, the pressure clearly showed because he was going for a slog to Shaheen. First ball. He could have, if experience was there, he could have just stabbed it to the onside or the offside and just
he
taken
just
a
had to
single.
knock it around. That's it.
That's the
Didn't have to
thing.
go for that extravagant shot. That too first up.
But I have observed one thing in Dunit Vellalage. What happens is, if it is a very low kind of a chase, say 200, 220, and his team is 107 for 7 or something,
Okay.
he will take his time and then build, and then he'll score. He's not cut out for these kind of pressure situations in that sense.
how many games has he played? How many times has he been in this pressure
He's played
situation?
15. He's played 15 matches till now. But again, with Sri Lanka,
Also the other thing, I mean, okay, Siddharth like makes that point that maybe he's more accustomed to pacing his innings rather than coming and finishing it off. But today the situation in finishing also wasn't the one where he had to go ballistic from the start.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's the mistake he made.
pressure.
He could have just played run a ball. I mean, that shot wasn't needed. Run a ball would have been good. I think, which is where Asalanka, I mean, the kind of patience that he showed was incredible. I think he did put himself under pressure when he was missing those deliveries. When Shaheen, that last penultimate over that Shaheen bowled, where Asalanka should have done slightly better, and then the final over that Zaman bowled. So I think those are the 2 overs where he was trying to get that 1 or 2 boundary to ease pressure, where he was not connecting. But otherwise, temperamentally, he was outstanding. From the time he came, he had to build an innings and take his team forward. I mean, that's the kind of inning that you'd want to see from a batter. So he was outstanding on that front.
Absolutely.
But just want to take Gautam Krishna's point forward. He says that the game was very much in the bag for Pakistan after especially those 2 wickets that Shaheen took in the over, and it was the lack of game sense and poor field. Basically, Pakistan being sloppy right towards the end that cost them the match.
The ground fielding was sloppy.
So exactly, would you put this win down to the brilliance and the resilience, let's say, of the Sri Lankan team, or helped by, let's say, or say that they were helped by Pakistan's sloppiness in the field?
80% brilliance and resilience because they had gotten the platform.
Yeah.
Okay, that was set up by the likes of Kusal Mendis and Sadira Samaravikrama's partnership.
Yeah.
Then after that, they had a stabilizing factor in Charit Asalanka, but the problem is wickets were losing at the other end. Wickets have been lost at the other end. Now, Pakistan themselves contributed their own misery with their sloppy ground field. I mean, remember that throw not needed. And Shadab's that throw when there was no backup, 2 runs additional. Look at how big a difference it made.
Of course.
Kind of fine margins. And let us not forget one more major incident. Mohammad Rizwan's drop of Iftikhar Ahmed. That was the biggest turning point. Had he taken that catch of Asalanka, game over. That is why Pakistan's sloppy fielding in the ground. The catching was good. Ground fielding was a problem. And
But you expect that. You expect that out of Pakistan, right? When every time they play, you expect. But I tell you, there was their fielding wasn't. I mean, the occasions that you mentioned, of course, poor fielding, but it was 50-50. There were certain occasions where they were outstanding. Shaheen Shah Afridi, 6 foot plus, diving multiple times to save boundaries. There were a few other fantastic attempts, a few stunning catches that was taken.
Shafiq,
all
too good.
Yeah, Shafiq's catch. Yeah, all of the so some good catching, some good fielding as well. And on other occasions, not so good ground fielding. So I think you take that with Pakistan. The difference I think was Sri Lanka's resilience. I mean, their ground fielding was outstanding as it always has been. But look at the dedication of Tikshanaya. On one leg, he decided to bowl his full quota of overs.
Yeah.
He had bowled, I think he bowled a good 3-4 overs in that situation where he just could not lift his other leg. His hamstring had completely gone. Just could not lift his leg. Yet goes on to bowl those overs. Then it was who got hit on the head by that Shaheen Shah Afridi. Sadira got hit. Yeah, Sadira got hit. But yet, just continued to bat. Though he couldn't get too many runs. I think he got 6-7 more runs before he was out stumped.
Yeah.
But I mean, the courage that Sri Lanka showed even after that, those situations, yet they thought, no, we got to fight it out. We got to continue. And I think that's the resilience that makes up this Sri Lanka team. But what's really heartening is the fact that it's a young team. You always want Sri Lankan cricket to, come back to those glory days. And it's a young team; they're going through a churn, but a young team is now showing that much maturity of chasing down this game. They could very well have beaten India as well.
Yes.
If you ask me, I think the two best teams have played. Just look at the results. And by the way, let's not forget, Sri Lanka were almost out of the tournament. Afghanistan almost knocked them out.
Yes.
They were almost out of that tournament. From there, it usually happens. A team gets a lifeline. Their chances of qualifying hanging by a thread, but somehow qualify, and then now they've made a final. So certain times those teams become dangerous, and also two very different strips. The one that they played against India was spin-friendly conditions. They showed you that it was a very close encounter. It could have gone either way, that game. And this is a very different pitch, far more batting friendly. And they beat Pakistan even in that. So, which tells you that they have now that they're building that experience, plus have the kind of firepower that you need to succeed in different conditions. So, which is also very heartening to see.
Also, I think one of the biggest takeaways from this innings for Sri Lanka for me will be the way that they ran between the wickets. I think it was very, very good how they were converting ones into twos and ensuring that they got that odd three as well, which they did on one occasion, if I'm not wrong. So tremendous, I think much of it happened during that big partnership
Between
that you
Mendes
saw.
and Samarawickrama.
Exactly.
Yep.
So because again, in these matches, and especially on a wicket like this, where we knew it was going to be difficult to operate, you need to be doing, you need to be, converting ones into twos.
Yep.
Exactly what both of them did.
See, the main difference today was Kusal Mendes. Main difference,
Yeah.
because see, Kusal Mendes has been touted as one of your future stars in Sri Lankan cricket ever since he stepped on in
which is
2016.
good, exactly, which is good 3-4 years back.
Yes, 2016, after he hit that 176 against Australia at Galle. That changed the entire perception, made Kusal Mendes the batter for Sri Lanka. Now, it's been a very infuriating time for Sri Lanka cricket because he's had his misdemeanors, unfortunately. He's been inconsistent. Out of, say, 80 plus games, he's just had 2 centuries and about 20 plus 50s. That means his conversion rate is not that high. Forever infuriating, but gotten the long rope. Today, clutch situation he contributed, 91. Had it not been for Mendes, I think Sri Lanka would not even have come close to chasing the total.
True.
So, and luckily he found one more who's having a breakthrough Asia Cup in Sadira Samarawickrama. Remember, he's now one of the top run getters in the Asia Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
He got you on 92, 93 the other day.
Yeah.
Then a handy knock against India as well. And today,
Yep.
I think fell on 48.
49. So,
Just one thing I wanted to check, which is going to make a lot of debate and hue and cry. Why was because it boiled down to the last ball. Why was 1 run deducted out of Pakistan's total? The target given was exactly how much Pakistan scored and not a run more by adjusting Duckworth-Lewis. I understand that the adjustment had to be made because overs got reduced in the middle of the match. But usually, isn't the batting team get benefit of that and runs increased? Can someone explain? I don't know. Siddharth might know. Why was it reduced?
because the DLS target was 252. It was not.
No, I know,
asked for.
but usually the DLS is like 252 is what they got, right? So
Yeah.
the target ideally should have been 253. But when you apply DLS, it's the batting team at a disadvantage, right? Because at one point they're playing for 45 overs and then you tell them 42 overs. So they get the benefit and runs are added because of Duckworth-Lewis. Another maybe,
because
I don't know,
think-
5, 6, 7.
Yeah, the calculations was such because Pakistan had such a good back end, 14 overs. I think the target because they didn't lose that many wickets, I think it made them that okay, the target should be in 42 overs, 252. There was not
Okay.
much of a difference, unfortunately, in that because it's a very complicated.
Because trust me, why I'm asking, because that will now become a big talking point, and you might just see a lot of folks in Pakistan raising questions about that you robbed us of a win because that total was
But I
adjusted
think
because of
again,
Duckworth-Lewis.
Given how DLS has worked, I think I don't see there being much room, let's say, for debate here because it's pure mathematics. Unless because it works in a certain way, and we know there's tables and all these permutations that work. So unless, of course, there's a big blunder with the calculation, I doubt.
Which is highly
Improbable.
It's not
Both
going to
teams
happen.
were informed of the target much even before the chase had begun.
And I think
Also,
the
these
rain
days teams
also
have their
had-
own statisticians and whatnot. You know, these things can.
Afghanistan will not agree with that.
Yeah.
Afghanistan may not necessarily.
Afghanistan will not agree because they did not know that you could have even got.
But again, that also is not entirely on them, on the officials. These days, everyone knows. Yeah, you're doing match practice. You're looking at footage. You're looking at stats for players. Where do all those numbers come from? Who's looking good against certain
See,
bowlers? Certain.
I know it is like banging your head to the wall when you have to explain to Pakistan supporters. But this was not a Mark Boucher moment. 252 was not the par score. 252 was the total. 251 was the par score. Had there been only one run made, the match would have been tied. We would have gone into a super over. So 252 was the DLS target.
Adjusted score.
Adjusted, because what happened was, as Nikhil also pointed out, 45 overs were reduced to initially, not a ball had been bowled. If there was no rain delay, the original target would have been a 45 overs.
It also made a lot of difference that the rain was before the toss as well.
That was not the point. The point is when they were
In the middle of the
27.4,
innings.
yeah.
Not
half
before.
an hour, 45 minutes were lost.
Yeah.
So 3 further overs were deducted. Now, everybody would have seen the South Africa New Zealand semi-final at Auckland 2015. South Africa made 270, but New Zealand got 298 to chase because South Africa's acceleration towards that end was phenomenal. So New Zealand had a higher total to defend. But yeah, I will have to check out the DLS complications. It's so complicated. 252 for 8, but the target was 252. Par score was not 252. So that is the main difference. Technicality. It's a real technicality.
Anyway, one way of answering the naysayers would be that they anyway got an extra run because
Exactly.
where Sri Lanka hit, they would have run 3. So even if you needed 3 instead of 2, they would have run 3 easily.
Run 3.
The host broadcaster showed 253.
That's what Nikhil's saying. No, that even if they were asked to get that extra run, they did anyway
got
get it. Yeah.
Yes. But I'm also.
No, they would have. I don't know whether they ran 3 or not, but they would have, right?
They
Whether
did,
there was no
they did,
fielder
they
there.
did, yeah.
They did. So,
They did.
So
But I'm also
that's
surprised by one more tactic of the Pakistanis. Why did you have to give the final? Okay, he bowled well. But why did you
Zaman,
have to give
a
it
debutant.
to a debutant when you had an already experienced Mohammad
But-
Wasim Jr.? He just bowled 3 overs in the entire game.
Maybe
No,
it was
but that's
short of
because I don't know. We were listening to the commentary, and I think Wasim Akram pointed that out. I mean, there was a whole debate that even Iftikhar had an over left, so you could have gone with Iftikhar and Shaheen Shah because he was bowling rather well. But then at the death, understandable, you'll go with your fast bowlers and not a part timer.
Yeah.
But I think the case with Zaman is he's known for his death bowling. So, so this was a question that was doing the rounds in the commentary panel, and I only heard from the Pakistani commentators who may have seen far more of him than all of us.
Yeah.
Where Wasim Akram pointed out that he's known for his death bowling. So even though it is his debut game, see the best option was obviously Shaheen Shah Afridi, but you always bowl the penultimate over with your best bowler.
Yeah.
So the last over, then they thought that was best to give it to Zaman.
Yeah, because, but I think Pakistan's woes were even more compounded by the fact that they gave an inconsistent Shadab Khan the full 9 overs. Because only 2 bowlers could bowl 9 overs.
That is another thing that you will see now on Pakistani Twitter, which is now X, where his friendship with Babar is going to come under scrutiny, where he gets his overs no matter what. He gets his
and
overs. So
Babar
that will also happen. That will happen because see now they'll have to take out the anger somewhere. I mean, after the whole debate about rain. No, first it was rain that India is scared rain, but now as things stand, India and Sri Lanka are going to be playing the final. So, that rain excuse is also out. And by the way, whatever said and done, despite all the criticism that is coming from Siddharth, the fact of the matter is you've got all your Super 4 games. You've had a result in all Super 4 games, which is a big relief considering that this tournament was heading towards a washout.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the talk was that we won't get to see anything in Colombo. Now, I don't want to jinx it by saying it now before the final, and for all you know, the final gets washed out.
No,
I mean,
no.
tomorrow's game can. It's an
Final-
inconsequential game. So.
Final is the only day where the weather is great in Colombo.
In fact, Nikhil, I think Siddharth only was saying this, that perhaps the following day, which is a reserve day, there is a greater prediction of rain the following day on the reserve day. But as things stand, it looks very clear on Sunday in Colombo.
Exactly.
That's great.
Your final is the only day which has great weather in Colombo. Your reserve day doesn't have
Yeah.
a good weather
So we need a
prediction.
reserve
there.
day.
What about tomorrow? What about tomorrow?
Tomorrow, same like how the Pakistan-Sri Lanka game was. Same. You'll have a spell of rain, and then after that, I hope it's not a rain-curtailed game.
Okay. All right.
Because this is your first dead rubber in this.
Exactly,
Asia Cup
it's a
Super
dead
Four.
rubber. Firstly, it's a dead rubber. Top of that, if there are rain interruptions in the middle of it in an ODI game, God save us.
No, there'll be always some sort of context. There will be a context of the fact that some youngsters would be playing.
Yes.
Good chance that Surya Kumar Yadav plays. I mean, there are all eyes on Shreyas Iyer. He practiced today. Though very gingerly. I don't know whether he'll be available, but in case he plays, so that's another thing that you can watch out for. So there'll be a few other subplots that will keep us busy through the day. No
Various
India match
spacers
is ever
might be rested.
inconsequential.
Yeah, you could see Prasidh in place.
Do you
of
see
Bumrah tomorrow.
the Bumrah or Siraj being rested for this game, Nikhil, or do you think they'll want to continue?
No, possibly could. Why would you want to play them this game? Makes no sense. Possibly. I mean, Shami, anyway, you'd want to play. He's hardly had any workout, barring that Nepal game. So you'd have to give him. And Prasidh come all the way. Give him one game.
Exactly. And
I agree.
But I think you can't make much changes in the batting. Your batters need a lot of game
But
time.
interesting that Shreyas did practice today. He was one of the 5 players who turned up. Surya was one of them.
Tilak was one of them.
also one of them. Tilak was seen in fact bowling his off spinners to Jadeja. So, and there's also, I heard from one of the portals that perhaps you're looking at Pandya being rested tomorrow, so that Tilak comes in. So again, all sorts of things happening at the moment. Interesting. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Resting
Yeah.
Hardik, the whole team composition goes alright then.
No, you would have to, because with him, you've seen him how they've been very careful with his workload management, especially with his injury history. So they're very careful, and now he's bowling longer spells, so that must be taking a toll. And you don't want an injury now, right before the World Cup, right? I mean, there's already criticism in Sri Lankan quarters about Thikshana. Why were they getting him to bowl those overs, considering it's so close to the World Cup? Was this, did you have to bowl him those overs at the risk of risking him not being available for World Cup, or should you have pulled him out immediately after he got injured so that somebody else could have filled up today and then he's fit for later games? So that debate is already on, and if that has to happen to India, I mean, it'll be a big no. So I think he'd be the first choice to rest. I think there's a good chance that Hardik does rest. Sky possibly comes in also. They'd want to try him. I think he's the first one that they'd want to try.
Yep. So a lot of interesting subplots in that as well. So it's not a dead rubber for many things, but
Yeah, you'll be making some footnotes tomorrow.
some footnotes about your bench strength. The youngsters will they
Always
get
actually
it?
good, so once you're short of a place, this becomes like the perfect opportunity. In fact, for both teams, Bangladesh as well, there will be a force change, we know, in the wicket-keeping batting role over there, we know for a fact, because Mushfiqur Rahim has gone back home for personal reasons.
Yep.
And perhaps they would also want to try their bench strength. So perhaps both teams will go in with that idea only tomorrow, wanting to see what more they can learn about their squad.
Indeed. So tomorrow,
I'm going to take your leave, guys. That's all the energy that I have for today. Hopefully, I should be
Take
fine
care.
tomorrow.
Take care, Nikhil.
But do
Take
take
care.
questions. Okay, bye, guys. See you.
bye. See ya. So yeah, I mean there is tremendous excitement at Galsi phase where Nikhil is, because normally that is the safest place, and even at 2-3 o'clock you can celebrate and do things. It's a very safe place, and Sri Lanka, by the way, is a very safe place to travel at 3-4 o'clock even in the night. You won't face many problems whatsoever in that sense. Security situations improved there tremendously in the past 15 years. You've had a couple of incidents of terrorism there, but it's now fine. So Sri Lanka, this kind of result boosts their morale tremendously.
Absolutely.
And beating Pakistan, the team that they have had the worst troubles against the last couple of years, is a big achievement. So that
I'm
is
glad I was backing them today. Siddharth, unlike you were singing praises and fighting a battle of justice for them this whole while, but you weren't backing them today.
But look at how close it was.
Of course, I get that.
One ball.
I am happy I was backing the right team today. And I
Thank
wanted
you.
them.
Thank
and I
you.
wanted them in the final for the simple reason that like Nikhil pointed out, their win against India was almost there.
Yeah.
Almost there. They shot
That
themselves. in the
Dhananjay De Silva shot really
Exactly,
escaped in that sense.
exactly.
So there was one individual who's like saying, stop acting like an activist on unfair reserve day. It's done. Casey, I
don't have to take everything.
I know, but it's just that I want to say, Casey, I don't know whether you're
Chhatto
from
pare.
Pakistan or from India, but you come out of that seat of privilege and understand what
But
it is.
to better comments, let's take a few super
Akash,
chats.
Akash Bharadwaj, before you come to the super chat. So, do you think India will start as favorites or it's a balanced one? Oh, I think India start as the favorites because they have had the wood over Sri Lanka and the momentum. is
Momentum.
there.
I think the momentum with India is massive at the moment.
Massive, yes. Vishal Panchal from the US is saying, reserve day, who cares? Sri Lanka said we will be the party poopers. Absolutely, this is what the game should be. Exactly, this is what fans want. Fair rules and no partiality. Thank you, Vishal Panchal. You seem to at least accept the fact, unlike so many people who don't understand because they are in those teams that enjoy privilege. That's the thing.
Okay, Win is saying Babar became one of the fastest ever captains to lose 4 ICC and 2 Asia Cups, World Cup 2021.
And then he's listed all of them.
Yeah.
No, I mean, come on, Arvind. I mean, fastest ever captain, but he's because of ICC events been every year. What's the big deal? WC
Yeah,
2021.
that way you're looking at Rohit Sharma as well in under 2 years of captaincy. He's also seen 3 ICC tournaments, but he's had no luck. You won't say the same thing about Rohit Sharma, right?
Exactly.
He also comes in
Come
with
on,
pedigree, and so does Babar Azam. Let's not defame the guy over there.
Exactly. But Sai Dattu from the US is saying Shadab inconsistent is a big problem for Pakistan.
At
I
this
agree.
point, yes.
His bowling, major concern.
It's taken a big hit. He was targeted by the Indians. He was targeted today as well. Expensive.
And-
Yes, I know he got that breakthrough.
Yeah, but where is the inconsistency in the middle overs? And where did Sri Lanka capitalize? In the
Middle overs. That is, by the way,
Mendes and
Sadira Samara
that is
Vikrama.
by Babar Azam's own admission that it's the middle overs where they lost the plot.
Yes. And Shadab's inconsistency, because even Mohammad Nawaz was not that penetrative enough, ensured Pakistan would struggle. Who got you wickets? Iftikhar. Iftikhar of all
And
people.
it's more worrying because it will not happen every day.
Every day.
Iftikhar is only a part-timer at best. You know that.
Exactly.
So
What do
yeah.
you guys think of Shadab Sharan? Same as Sai Dattu, inconsistent, very worrying for Pakistan.
yeah.
Very worrying heading into the World Cup because now Pakistan's preparations are over. They now will have to wait for some time. I don't know whether they have a series slotted in between. I don't know. But because remember, they are starting their warm-up preparation for the World Cup because they are playing from September 29th onwards, the World Cup, the warm-ups. They are playing New Zealand in Hyderabad. There is already one video that I have done that how the World Cup chaos continues to grow in India. Shubham, very happy for Sri Lanka, country in such turmoil and they're playing out of their skins. Harshit, you told a year ago itself, Shanaka is a born leader. He's doing it. Shubham, yep, absolutely. I mean,
I like the guy. I like the guy for the fact that, you know, I like his skill sets, firstly. Second of all, you know, his ability to deliver. And I was, by the way, the most impressed with him last year when I saw his exploits in the
against Australia
in the Asia Cup, and then of course followed up with good performances in the World Cup as well. Having said that, it does sort of make me unhappy that the IPL, the way, you know, his name came up, nobody took him in those first couple of rounds was disheartening. He was only later on roped in
as Kane Williamson's replacement.
as Kane Williamson. So imagine the guy deserves, you know, had it been someone else, he would have been taken. Perhaps it's the reputation thing, the fact that Sri Lankan players aren't always looked at with the kind of appreciation that you do. Let's say, I remember the likes of Darcy shot with whatever he did in the BBL, get an IPL contract just months later.
No, the problem is Sri Lanka's boards themselves contributed to the problem. They did not give a clear-cut idea of the players' availability because remember, Sri Lanka would be one of the few nations who would play international cricket also around May in England or somewhere else.
But Shubham, right now, Dasun Chanaka, by the way, his team also need him to score runs.
Yep.
He could be doing the job as a captain very well at the moment, but he still hasn't scored enough runs or many runs in fact for you this whole Asia Cup. Going into something like the World Cup, you need your captain who is a proven match winner to be getting you runs as well. Because by the way, had Sri Lanka gone down today, the owners would have fallen on him.
Yes.
It was a nothing shot.
It was a nothing shot, and from that point onwards, Sri Lanka almost bottled it up.
Yeah.
Dhananjay De Silva played a bad shot. Vellalage, I mean, one day you are up, the other day you are down, and that's the situation with Vellalage at this point, and that is why. Roller coaster of a match, yeah. 252 for 7, 252 for 8.
And
But
what is the final match?
we hope so.
You
But
know,
again,
this-
remember,
This would have been the perfect way to end the Super Fours,
Yeah.
but we're still left with one more match, and
in
that
the next
is
12 hours.
India taking on Bangladesh in this all-important match, right?
Super Fours, yeah. Super Fours last game. Yeah, so Vineet Ambat is saying, do you think the final against your turning track, the last game between the two teams, very difficult, yeah. Very difficult to predict what kind of wicket. I hope it's a true wicket. That's what I will say. Rohan Sakare will say us and Prasidh Krishna get chance tomorrow. Check out the video that I've done on the Indian cricket team. Maybe at that time. So, time to call it a long day, folks. Thanks to no small measure to the rain. The rain is really destroying our mental peace more than the roller coaster ODIs that we are seeing here. So, Sri Lanka are in the final of the Asia Cup for the 11th time, record 11th time. All you India versus Pakistan fans, sorry, not happening final.
Wait till the 14th of October now.
Yes, at Ahmedabad. Wait for that next encounter now. So, thank you so much, folks. From me, Gargi and Harshit, it's good morning because it's 1:50. It's almost 2 a.m. Bye-bye.